So guys, what's going on? I hope you guys are well. I hope you guys are staying safe. I hope everything's good wherever you are, guys. So Jermall Charlo has done a U-turn. He's basically said he rejects Canelo's suggestion to fight Benavidez and he'll fight winner. Jermall Charlo says he won't fight David Benavidez to earn a fight with Canelo Alvarez. He says he wants the superstar Canelo Alvarez to fight him without needing to earn it by beating the former two-time WBC 168-pound champion Benavidez. He says, I laugh. You're trying to be my promoter now. Says Jermall Charlo. Why you won't fight me? Why do you want somebody else to fight me? Why don't you fight me? I'm 32. You're 32. I was at 154 and Canelo was at 154. I had a belt and he had a belt and he didn't fight me. I moved up to 160 when he was at 160 and he moved up to 168. Charlo said about Canelo. What do I got to do to keep chasing him with my legacy? I'm just going to keep winning. He probably realized how big I was and how fresh I was, said Jermall, about how he and David Benavidez almost came to blows while attending the Errol Spence Udenis Ugas clash on April 16th. Come fight me. I wonder if they'd give me a chance to fight Golovkin, and I beat Golovkin, then will Canelo try to fight me. I take that fight away while he chases Bivol. While you chase Bivol, let me give Golovkin a tune-up. I'll be the B-side. Canelo wants to try and be my promoter. Let's make a semi-final. I spoke to my team about it. I didn't really get an answer. I don't pick my fights. I'm not into that. Tell me who I'm fighting and I'll fight them. As long as it makes sense to you guys. I know my team is the best. I'm going to make sure Jermall Charlo is the best Jermall Charlo that it can be. Kind of contradicts himself. 1 minute he rejects the Benavidez fight and then says, I'll fight whoever I want. I'll fight whoever they put in front of me. But yet the Benavidez fight is a fight where it can be easily made. They're on the same platform, but then he kind of says, I don't need to fight. Well, he actually says, I don't need to fight Benavidez to get the Canelo fight, which he's right. He doesn't need to fight Benavidez to get the Canelo fight. That doesn't make any sense. There's guys that haven't had to fight anybody to, get Canelo fights. I think what Canelo wasn't trying to be his promoter, as he's trying to suggest there. What Canelo was saying is, while I'm doing my thing, why don't you guys fight each other and then I'll fight the winner of you guys? I think that's what Canelo was trying to get to. I don't think he was trying to tell Charlo to fight Benavidez. I think he was just saying, why don't you guys fight one another? And then I can after I finish what I'm doing, I'll fight the winner of you. I think that's what Canelo meant. But Charlo has a point. He goes at 154. I tried to fight him. Did he try to fight him? I'm not sure he did. Then at 160, Canelo moved up to 160. Like Charlo, man, he don't fight anybody and they give it the big one. We want to see these guys fight. He's basically saying, kind of rejecting the Benavidez fight. He doesn't seem like he wants to go near the Mexican monster in David Benavidez. A lot of you guys keep giving Canelo stick for not going near the Mexican monster, but neither does Jermall Charlo. But I don't see that same energy with you guys saying that Charlo's ducking, but David Benavidez, the Mexican monster. If Canelo Alvarez is avoiding the Mexican monster, then so is Jermall Charlo. Jermall Charlo is really chickening from that fight. It's quite clear to see that he doesn't want that smoke with the Mexican monster. It doesn't look good. It doesn't look good for the, Charlo, that the Mexican monster seems to be really getting under his skin. He's saying that he's no Mexican monster. If he's not a Mexican monster, then fight David Benavidez. There's no reason why Charlo shouldn't be fighting David Benavidez, really. But then it goes on to say, you got to feel sorry for Showtime as they keep showing Jermall Charlo's fights against lackluster opposition, and he's not going to ever become a star due to his reluctance to fight better fighters like Benavidez and like Andrade as well. It's very, very poor. Disappointing to hear this because, look, Jermall Charlo does not need to fight David Benavidez to get the Canelo fight. Jermall Charlo needs to fight David Benavidez for Jermall Charlo. Forget, like, Canelo was basically just saying, you go fight each other. Canelo's busy. I told you, what's Jermall going to do? Is he going to keep waiting till September 2023 for when Canelo's free? And then Canelo might decide to fight Benavidez or might fight someone else. So the point I'm trying to make is Canelo might not pick Charlo. And if he does, the earliest he's going to pick him is at September 2023. So what's Charlo going to do in the meantime? You know, there's a fight, a big fight there, a biggish fight there with the Mexican monster. And people want to see that fight. People want to see Jermall Charlo against the Mexican monster. You know, and this is the fight that a lot of people have been talking about in the upcoming days. That, you know, Charlo, they want to see Charlo fight Benavidez. You know, both these guys had back and forth at the Errol Spence, Dennis Ugas, as it rightfully points it out there. So we want to see that fight. We want to see these guys lock horns, and we want to see these guys fight one another. But Jermall Charlo, as of right now, doesn't look too keen on that fight from what this article says. Now, he keeps, you know, here's when I think a guy doesn't really want to fight. When he keeps contradicting himself or doing U-turns like this, oh, fight him, and then says, I don't want to fight him, and then says, well, he's a cruiserweight. It doesn't seem like he's interested in a fight with the Mexican monster. He's talking about Golovkin, but again, Golovkin is fighting Canelo. I don't understand with Jermall Charlo, you know. He's obviously injured now. He's pulled out of his fight with Selecki. I don't know what's going on with Jermall Charlo. And D-Money put a message out there the other day saying that I'm done with Charlo. A lot of people are turning their back on Charlo. A lot of his own fans are turning his back on Charlo, you know, because Charlo's not giving us big fights. He's not giving us good fights. You know, he's not giving us fights like Bivol. He's giving us fights like Selecki. And the fight before that, Montiel. He's giving us poor fights. He didn't fight Andrade. You know, and he didn't want that fight with Andrade. Call him a horrible fighter. Called Benavidez, a cruiserweight. But it seems like right now that Jermall Charlo is basically just waiting for the Canelo payday, really. That's what it looks like, if I'm honest with you. And I was one of those that actually backed Jermall Charlo. I was a fan of Jermall Charlo's. I was always rooting for Charlo, but now I'm kind of off that train as well, because it seems to me that Jermall Charlo is looking for the Canelo fight, and that's it. And he's trying to fight lower level competition until he gets the Canelo fight. Look, Jermall Charlo is more than qualified to be fighting Canelo. There's no doubt about it. He brings a big name. He's a good fighter. He's definitely a credible. He's undefeated. He's a two-weight world champion. So he's definitely a qualified to fight Canelo. There's no doubt about it. But the fact of the matter is Canelo's tied up right now. Let's not talk about the past and talk about, well, Canelo could have fought him when he was at 154. That's gone. We're talking about right now, and right now, Jermall Charlo, you know, Roy Jones pointed it out, these guys don't want to fight each other, man. These guys don't want to fight each other. Like, these guys just don't want to fight each other. It's you know, his brother on the other hand, Jermall, is fighting everyone. You know, Jermall, you know, you have to respect Jermall Charlo. You know, he's the lion out of the brothers, because Jermall Charlo is fighting anyone and everyone. You've got to give Jermall a lot of credit, because Jermall just cleaned out a division. He fought a guy in Brian Castano. A lot of people thought that he wouldn't fight Brian Castano, you know, and he fought Brian Castano again and beat Brian Castano. And I didn't feel like Jermall got his credit. He's not even on most people's pound for pound list, which is ludicrous, really, when you think about what Jermall Charlo has achieved in the game. You know, Jermall on the other hand, is not interested. He wants a Canelo payday, in my opinion. And that's it. That's what it looks like. You know, he doesn't want the smoke with a Mexican monster. He doesn't want smoke with Demetrius Andrade either. You know, he's openly not called him a horrible fighter. He's talking about Canelo. He's talking about Golovkin, who a lot of people are saying, you see, here's the problem. Canelo's fighting Golovkin and everybody's saying Canelo's fighting an old man. But I guarantee you, the same people that are saying that Canelo's fighting an old man will be okay with Charlo fighting Gennady Golovkin. And if Charlo was to beat Golovkin, they'll big him up as well at the same time. You know, whereas if Canelo fighting Golovkin, Canelo beating Golovkin, Canelo's judged at a different standard to someone like Jermall Charlo. You know, Jermall Charlo's fighting nobody. Let's be brutally honest. We've got to say it how it is. Jermall Charlo he doesn't want to fight the Mexican monster. You see, a lot of you say, well, Canelo doesn't want to fight the Mexican monster. Canelo's fighting a Russian monster in Dmitry Bivol, and who went after. And now he's gonna fight Golovkin, and then he's gonna fight the Russian monster again, the European monster, I should call him, in Dmitry Bivol again in May. So Canelo's already fighting monsters. You know, this guy's fighting Seleckis and Montiels, and you know, Canelo's opposition is Billy Joe and Callum Smith, and you know, Montiel and Selecki just don't size up. They don't rank. You know, that's not a contest. Caleb Plant. These are good fighters. Caleb Plant probably beats Jermall Charlo. You know what I mean? So the point I'm trying to make is, come on, man. We need to see good fights. You know, we're not getting good fights. We're getting frustrated. These guys, he says he's 32, but how many significant fights has he had at 32 years of age? And Canelo's 32. How many significant names and fights has he had? Loads. You know, so come on, man. We need to see some big fights. I'm just irritated. His brother, on the other hand, is fighting everybody. Jermall Charlo is a man. He's the man right now. Let's be brutally honest. He's the man. He's the undisputed 154-pound champion. He is a proper fighter. And I don't care if he's got a loss and a draw on his record. That I don't give a crap, because he beat those guys that he had a loss and a draw against. That guy, Jermall Charlo, needs to, like, people, when are people going to put respect on Jermall Charlo's name? When are people going to put him on the pound-for-pound list? Because Jermall Charlo deserves to be on the pound-for-pound list. Why isn't he on the pound-for-pound list? Why isn't Jermall Charlo on the pound-for-pound list? It's a joke. The guy has cleaned out his division, and now apparently he's fighting Tim Tszyu. He's fighting another guy, really, where, you know, that guy doesn't really bring anything to the table. He's just a guy, up-and-coming guy that they're building up, you know. And Charlo's saying, you know what, I'll fight him as well. I'm all about that smoke. I ain't ducking and dodging anyone. This is my division. I rule this division. But, you know, Jermall, on the other hand, you know, he's talking about Andrade being a horrible fighter and this, that, and the other, man. I'm disappointed. You know, I really like both the Charlos. But right now, I have to say I'm more in the fan club and fanboyism of Jermall Charlo, who's really putting in the work, and he really is. He's deserving of praise. Whereas Jermall, on the other hand, yeah, it is what it is. You know, it seems like a lot of excuses are being made, and he just wants the Canelo fight. You know, he doesn't want the Benavidez fight, doesn't want the Andrade fight. You know, the Andrade fight was there for him. That was a monster fight. You know, 2 undefeated, 2 division world champions. You know, that was a proper fight. And, you know, Jermall didn't want it. He didn't want it. He said, nah, he's a horrible fighter. You know, that's what he said. You know, let's be honest. That's what he said about Andrade. He called him a horrible fighter. You know, and it's disappointing to say the least. You know, it seems like, when are any of these guys going to get any meaningful fights? When is Benavidez going to get a meaningful fight? When is Charlo going to get a meaningful fight? When is Andrade going to get a meaningful fight? You know, their best bet is to fight each other. I think the fight we may get first is probably Andrade and Benavidez, because I think those guys will actually want to fight each other, because those guys aren't just chasing Canelo. They want to fight anyone. So I think you might get that fight first, and then you might get whatever you get after that. But yeah, it's disappointing that Jermall Charlo doesn't seem to be interested in a Benavidez fight. He's done a U-turn. He's done a complete U-turn and said, nah, not interested, you know, in Benavidez. He doesn't need to fight Benavidez to get the Canelo fight, which he doesn't. He's right. But for me, he just needs to fight. He needs to fight Benavidez for Jermall Charlo. Jermall Charlo needs to fight Benavidez for Jermall Charlo. That's it, basically. Not for anybody else. Not for any. He needs to fight for himself, because he needs that fight for his legacy. You know, he needs big fights. But yeah, guys, let me know what you think in the comment section below. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.